Ready?
How are you?
Oh, it's just you, Kirsten. Okay.
Yeah,
Doing pretty well. I saw Eric might have an issue. He sent an email about an hour ago.
I saw that. Yeah, he had a last minute work thing.
Okay. How was your work trip last month?
That was already a month ago. This month has gone so fast. There have been several trips.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to vacation.
Where are you guys headed?
Going to the Outer Banks.
Oh, that'll be fun. We're headed to Belmar, New Jersey in 2 weeks or a week and a half.
Mhm.
We're looking forward to that too.
I think everyone's happy to finally be able just to get to go somewhere else,
Yes,
not
absolutely.
be stuck in the same place.
Definitely. Yeah, we've been seeing family more, which is nice. We have a lot of out of town family, so it's nice to just feel free to have them here again since everybody's vaccinated.
Mhm. Yeah, well, we are recording already. That just auto started when we.
And it's a joint meeting with Ingram, right?
It's a joint meeting with Ingram. This was kind of a weird month because we have 5 Tuesdays, and whenever that happens, it seems like the Planning Commission meeting is really early.
Yeah.
So hopefully
I had to check my calendar too. I was thinking like worrying whether I'd be away or needing to pack after the meeting next week because we leave I think Wednesday. And then I realized it's this week. So I think everybody was a little confused.
Mhm. Well, we know that we're missing Colton today, and we know that Eric can't stay, but he did say he was going to join for a little bit, or he was going to try.
Mhm.
So we'll wait a few minutes for everyone else to log on.
Okay.
Thank you for getting last month's stuff out.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Ended up kind of hitting the road earlier than anticipated and wasn't able to get to a computer.
Oh, that's fine. It was a pretty simple agenda. We did have, I don't know, we can talk about it when we go over the minutes, but we did have a couple action items last week, last meeting, and one of them was to request that council allow anyone who expresses interest in being on the park planning, master parks plan steering committee be allowed to. And I saw that request come out for letters of interest. So that's kind of.
Yeah, they did advertise that in public and it was out on Savvy Citizen.
Right. So that's a kind of a relevant thing to get word to Doug if we haven't already.
Yeah, I did look over the agenda and it looks like we have Jim with us now. I did look over your minutes from last month and put a couple notes on the agenda this month just so that we follow up.
Hi, Kristen. Hi, Lydia.
Hello.
Jim.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So I'm going to try to share my screen. That last attempt didn't seem to have worked. Are you guys seeing my screen now? Okay, good.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Good.
Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Hey,
good to
Greg.
see you.
It's Greg.
Well, we're still missing a couple of people. Rich didn't say anything about whether he could make it today. Should
Not
we
that
wait
I
another
heard.
minute or two?
Do you want me to text him?
Oh, there he is.
Oh, here he is.
And on Ingram's side, do you guys know if you're expecting anyone else?
I'll text Aaron real quick. I haven't heard from him.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Hey, Rich.
I think he's still connecting his
Hello.
audio.
Yeah, we go. Yeah, my mute was not unmuting.
Well, should we go ahead and call to order?
Sounds good.
Call to order at 6:36. We'll do roll call. I'm here, Kirsten Compatello for Crafton.
Rich Kramer from Crafton.
Lydia Herring from Crafton.
Greg Butler from Ingram.
Jim Marsilia from Ingram.
We have no citizens on the line. We know that we are down to planning commissioners tonight who are unable to make it from the Crafton side. Come back to citizen comments again at the end if there is anyone who joins us by then.
Okay.
The next item on our agenda was to let Ingram open with any updates from their end. So I'll pass it over to you guys.
Thank you. We really don't have a whole lot of updates. The pedestrian safety plan is moving forward nicely. Our last meeting, I wasn't able to make it. I don't think Jim and Aaron were able to make it either. So we canceled our last Ingram Planning Commission meeting. And that's really all we have. We're not really doing much except for the plan. At this point, that's all I have.
Okay. Well, we do have a few updates from Crafton Borough. Nothing enormous, but we'll go through some of those. The first one on the agenda is one that impacts us both, which is the zoning. I have spoken with council to figure out what they're waiting for and what that is, what the next steps are for that. And they're currently waiting for the fall funding cycle. They are hoping to go forward with it this year, but given that there's an expectation that we have, that we will be favored in that fall cycle, they're waiting for the DCD grant fund application to go through in September. So they're not planning on proceeding with starting that any earlier. They did speak with EPD about locking in the pricing that was previously discussed, and that was apparently informally agreed upon. So there's no contract extension, but it's been discussed with EPD, and they're happy to.
Kirsten, do you know if it'll be at the same price?
It's frozen.
Do you know if the contract extension will be for the same scope and price?
Yeah, she's out.
Oh, I see. You're not saying I'm frozen, you're saying Kirsten's frozen.
Yes.
I think it is the same price, Lydia.
Okay,
I saw the email. I saw the response from Carolyn, I think it was at 8 EDP, and it is the same price.
even beyond July 1?
I think so.
Okay. Kirsten just texted that she lost internet.
Oh, that sucks.
So I'll pick up. It looks like her since she's out completely, the agenda's gone from being shared right now. So let me pull it up and share it.
Oh, here
Here
she
she comes.
Here she is. Okay.
All right.
All right, well, this is Kirsten. I think I lost internet, so I'll just call in until I can get back online.
That sounds good. I just shared my screen with the agenda so that everyone can see it while you're on audio.
Okay, thanks, Lydia. And I don't know where you guys cut out. Let me know if I need to repeat any of the zoning updates. I don't know when I lost internet.
I just had a quick question. You mentioned that EPD is on board to work with us even beyond July 1, even without a contract extension. Do we know whether it'll be the same scope and price, or is that to be negotiated later?
It sounded like it was to be the same scope and price, that they were content to simply extend the previous agreement
Okay.
to a fall start date. But there is nothing in writing, and that may be something that we would like to recommend.
Okay. I personally think it makes sense to get it in writing, but we can tackle that at a more appropriate time. I know you're going through updates right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think since we're all here, and I had just got this update a few days ago, I think it would be suitable. Sorry, my internet is not coming back. I don't know why I seem to have lost internet, but I think that we can, motion to ask council to ask that agreement be put in writing.
Okay. I'll motion that the extension be put in writing.
I'll second
Second.
that.
Can we make a motion with 2 members out?
I'm not sure we can motion
Um,
as a joint commission.
Well, Ingram could motion because you have a quorum, right? 2 out of
Right,
3.
we do.
I think we might need. Well, we have 3 of 5. Is that or do we need 4 of us?
No, 3.
We have 3.
3's a quorum.
Okay, so all those in favor, I agree.
I agree as well.
I
I
agree.
agree.
So unanimous for those present.
And that's not even really a decision. That's one of those reminders that we've been doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll ask council to just formalize that and see if they can get it in writing.
Thanks, Kirsten.
So EPD may want like a final date on that, maybe the end of the year. Can we recommend that?
I don't know if we can handle that jointly or if that will need to be handled separately, because although we're doing the joint zoning overlay, the two boroughs will each have a contract with EPD.
Oh, I
Correct.
see. Okay, that's a good point.
So I think we can only give you an update on what Crafton has chosen to do. And I know that Crafton Council has been speaking with Ingram Council. And so if you guys have any updates on what Ingram is thinking, I assume Ingram is also waiting for that fall grant cycle.
Yes, we are.
And it sounds like we have a really good chance at it. And I have stressed that it is important to get that moving this year. And I think it sounds like our Crafton council is on board with that. They're just hoping to wait a little bit longer and get that fall grant confirmed before they proceed.
If at any point anyone needs me to reach back out to Nick Macareth, let me know. I've kind of been the point of contact. I'm happy to pass that along, pass that role off to somebody else if you prefer, but I'm also willing to email him on behalf of our joint commission or joint, planning commission.
Well, he knows that we're planning to try again in fall, right?
He does, yeah,
That is where you left it off.
correct.
I think it would be good to reach out to him again, but I don't know if it needs to happen yet. Maybe when we get a little bit closer, maybe might be a good time to reach out to him and just let him know again. So perhaps we'll discuss that next month.
Sounds great.
Are there any other questions or comments on zoning the zoning update before we go on to the Parks Master Plan?
No questions.
No, we're good.
No,
So
thank you.
the other plan that Crafton Borough has in the works right now is this Parks Master Plan. And the funding for that is already secured and the consultant has already been selected. And that Parks Master Plan should be kicking off within the next few weeks. I know that you guys spoke at last month's Planning Commission meeting, which I wasn't able to attend. You spoke about the intended makeup of the steering committee for that Parks Master Plan, that it would include several council members, some representation from various committees, including the Parks and Recreation Committee and the Planning Commission, and then also several community members. And as of a few days ago, that steering committee was still being confirmed. Council did put out a public notice on the website and in Savvy Citizen to open that up and solicit letters of interest from the community at large. And from what I was told, they did not receive any letters of interest. So the steering committee is still being created. They've spoken to a few people from council. I was asked to participate. I think they were also considering who else from our commission and from the Parks and Recreation Commission would be asked to be a part of that. And they were also hoping to still get some community members. So this, as much as I know so far, they have opened it up to the community, but the final roster is not yet determined.
Kirsten, do you know the deadline for that public letter of interest?
I didn't check actually.
I'll try to find that out. It may be worth, doing some sort of Facebook post or something on behalf of the Planning Commission.
Yeah, if there is anyone listening tonight, I know we don't have anyone yet, but if anyone listens to this soon, I think they are still taking them. Again, I can't really check my internet right now.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, it was still open as of a few days ago. So yeah, Lydia, if you're able to check the date, it was posted on Savvy Citizen recently. If you're able to check the date, if they put a date.
I was just able to pull it up, the Savvy Citizen announcement through email, and it looks like the deadline was June 16th. So today's the 22nd. Maybe they'll do an extension.
Yeah, I would assume, I know that they wanted to kick that off within the next few weeks, but as of a few days ago, they hadn't received any letters yet. So I imagine that they'll continue taking letters until they fill the steering committee.
The The strange thing about this is I got that Savvy Citizen announcement on the 18th. I wonder if they meant July 16th.
That's possible. I don't think so, because I know they were disappointed that they hadn't gotten any letters yet.
I will forward this back to Doug and ask him, the manager of our community, and ask him the deadline. I'll ask him to clarify.
Yeah, and I'll maybe ask if, I'll go ahead and ask them also if they are still taking letters, to put a new post in Savvy Citizen to clarify that. So that's the update for the Parks Master Plan. Crafton will be starting a Parks Master Plan to update our older version and take stock of what all of our parks and recreation and trail amenities are, and look at what investments we need to make. But the project hasn't officially started yet. It'll be kicking off in the next month or so.
Hey, Kirsten, when was the last plan? Do you know?
I have it, and I
think it was like the 2010 or 2012 timeframe from my memory.
Not that long ago. Okay.
about 10 years ago. Yeah, I don't remember the date offhand.
That's great.
And that Parks Master Plan will also include some public engagement. So hopefully, members of the community start hearing about it, and we start getting the word out that this is going to be happening, and people can share their thoughts and their ideas as we put that together. Our next update is that the Crafton Boulevard Stormwater Project, sewer separation project, is in the ground. That's a minor update. I mean, it was big news. I think those of us on the Planning Commission are familiar with it, but that was news to share with Ingram as well. That sewer separation project broke ground about a month ago. So it's nice to see that moving along, and it got some press as well. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. I've got it later on under the Crafton initiatives. It was really nice to see our community and the things that are happening in our community getting some positive news. So that's why I put it on this agenda. So I think it'd be nice for us to consider how we can continue doing some marketing and promotion for Crafton and for our area, and make sure that there's positive news highlighting the things that are happening around here. That's another update. We'll come back to the ideas and just more discussion point about what else we might want to promote and how else we might want to, what other initiatives we can start. But the fourth item on our Planning Commission updates is the Eco District workshop and survey results. And that was one to share while we have Ingram here, because that was a joint event. We had attendance from Jim, and he also shared some comments. So we wanted to have a quick discussion of how that workshop went, and what some of the survey results are. That was that 2 months ago now?
Yeah, that was March, April. Something like that.
Yeah, the workshop itself went well. We only had maybe 3 people on the line, so there was not a lot of live attendance, but the webinar was posted on the borough website afterwards. It was about a 1 hour long recording. I think we kept it relatively on target and succinct and moving along. So I don't know, and we don't have the stats on who else has watched it since, but we did get some positive feedback. And Eric put together a survey that had some questions about various things that community members would like to see, but also included some questions specifically about the idea of the eco-district. Eric was unable to join us tonight last minute. We're really not having a great night. My internet is down. Eric had a last minute work conflict. Was hoping that he could share an update on what the survey results were. I suppose if we can't access those now, we can email around the group, because I think it'd be nice for Ingram to see also what comments we've gotten back regarding the eco district. So we can email a recap of that around later this week.
I don't mind trying to pull them up. Are they on the drive?
He sent an email a while back, and I've just earmarked that email, and I always go back to that to see the link.
Okay, so I pulled up the survey, but it's just pulling up a blank survey, like for me to fill it out. So we can maybe ask Eric to send out a synopsis this month.
Yeah, we'll email that around. It's mostly a community survey. It wasn't specifically eco-district, but there were some questions responding to that eco-district workshop. So it'd be interesting. I think that would be interesting to Ingram to see what the initial responses we were getting were.
Yeah, I agree.
So then building off of that, the next item on the agenda was, since we are doing a joint planning commission again, just another touch base on the idea of the eco district. I will give my update. Other than that workshop that we hosted a few months back with the Crafton and the Ingram Planning Commissions, I reached out to Connect, but I did not hear a response. So I have not actually gotten any support or any resources or any contact back from Connect on that yet. But I'll reach out to them again.
Thanks for sending that email.
Is there still interest in pursuing that, in pursuing that idea? I know that our Crafton Council is interested.
Oh, I think we're still interested. Jim, are you interested?
Sure, absolutely.
We've been having a little trouble with our website. I finally secured the password to get on it. I've been trying to resist being the webmaster because I was for like 10 years. But nobody else on council wants to do it. So my point being that once I get on it, I can start to post information for our citizens.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone on the Ingram side looked into any steps to get started with the eco district?
No. You mean on council besides myself?
Yeah,
No,
council
not yet.
or planning commission. Okay. I think
I'm sorry, we're going back to live meetings in July, so that's going to be super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
in past meetings, I've complained about Zoom and my inability to, I don't know, communicate. I hate Zoom. So once we get back live, we can have better discussions, more in depth, more detailed. The Zoom meetings are just very formal, very quick, you know, very, very just, I guess formal is the word. So I'm optimistic for the future. I really miss the in-person meetings.
I would say we've had pretty good luck with Zoom up until the past few months, in which case it's like we've started to have a lot of internet and technical issues.
Really? Do you have a lot of residents join?
We did actually, you know, we don't have anyone on now, right? Unless it's changed, but we have had a few people start attending more regularly over the past 6 to 8 months.
Oh, that's good.
We don't get a lot of people on the planning commission meetings, but we've often had 1 or 2. Well, I will reach out to, I still have a few people I'd like to reach out to either again or additional ideas for people to reach out to, just to kind of get us ideas for where to start and ideas for how to connect with resources to support getting started in that. I think that our planning commission and or joint planning commissions could also think about doing another workshop or potentially an in-person kind of get the word out event to start getting some community interest. We don't have to wait for a formal process because it is very much a community-led concept in the first place. So we could get some steps started on our own. And then we certainly do have the support of Crafton Council, so we can continue asking them to pursue funding and grant sources and look into consultants to get that started. I don't think it's on their radar immediately, but we know there's support. So I'm going to toss that back to the group, what kind of timeline we want or what we want to start with for our next step.
I wanted to ask a question of Ingram, whether you've shared the first workshop link to the rest of council or the rest of planning commission for that matter. It may be worth reminding them that exists and that it's a recorded workshop that gives a pretty big overview of what an eco district is, but also kind of talks through what it could mean for our specific communities. And that might be a really great way for them to learn about it themselves.
I agree. I just made a note. I haven't shared it with them yet. I do apologize.
That's okay. It'd be great to, for them to watch it in the next few weeks or months.
All right, thanks Lydia for taking over there for a while. I restarted my internet.
No problem.
Yeah, I think it would be great for us to do another for the Planning Commission. Again, whether this is Crafton Planning Commission or a joint Crafton and Ingram initiative, it'd be great to do another info session about eco districts. That ideally would be an in-person thing. So perhaps we can get that off the ground in another, closer to Labor Day. But we could, start to get information out to people that this is, what is the concept and how does it work? And also start to just gather community interest and gather some community ideas. So that as we do move forward in the future in a more structured way, we have a base, we've already taken a few of those initial steps on our own, and we've gotten some community engagement already underway. That's not something we have to decide in detail tonight, but that's an idea that I had. I don't know what you guys think of that.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yes, I'm in favor of that.
Labor Day's around when kids go back to school, right? We may want to just make sure we time it so that it's not impacting people's availability, isn't impacted by that big transition for kids.
Mhm. But that might also be a good way to pair it with, events or things that people are already out at. Because I don't see this being a large, at least our first next step. I don't see it being a large, day-long in-person workshop or that kind of thing. I think it would be nice to have more of a conversational info table or presence somewhere where people already are. So whether we could sync that with potentially an event that's happening at the school, or perhaps we do something on our own that's an evening in the park. But I know that we are missing Colton and Eric tonight, and I think our Crafton Planning Commission could maybe think this one over and discuss more at our next meeting what date we think we could do that, and then invite Ingram to join if you'd like, or certainly if you guys have ideas or suggestions for timing that you think would be good, we'd love to hear it.
Well, I know we canceled our Ingram days. Obviously, that would have happened in July normally. So our last meeting, I was trying to think if it was the last meeting. It was. We talked about making it a fall fest, but it's still up in the air, kind of a fall, maybe August, September, not August, September, October. That might be a good opportunity. I think that will happen because things are moving forward pretty well, and the council really wants it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're just kind of climbing out of COVID, but I think that would be a good opportunity. As far as school events, I'm admittedly pretty out of touch. My kids are out of school.
Mhm.
But our mayor is pretty in touch. I think she works at the school and her kids are in school. So we could use her as a resource, make that connection with Montport.
We certainly have a lot of school events and a lot of school attendance, and people are often there for the PTA meetings. We even have the digital board, so we could potentially get the school to share some information on their digital marketing board out front. But then, Crafton also has things like the library has been doing events in the park, and we'll be doing that all summer. And we have the concert series. So maybe there would be opportunities actually for us to do something in the summer at the park in conjunction with one of those other events.
Does all of that start soon?
The story time in the park has already started.
That's great.
The summer concert series, I'm not sure if it started yet or if it starts.
I think it's in July. It starts mid-July or something like that.
But it goes July through August.
Okay.
It used to normally start a week after we tore down Crafton Celebrates. So like the third week of July then.
Yeah, I think it's the
Well, we used to
15th is the
schedule it.
first concert.
So what's up with Crafton Celebrates?
We will
It's
be
not happening.
doing fireworks on the 4th of July. A band will be playing on stage starting, I believe, 7 o'clock. And right now, I believe they're talking about possibly some food trucks coming in that night.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would be a good time to try to link with though, because I'm guessing most people will come out in the evening because there's not a
Right,
lot of
it's not
daytime
gonna
events.
start till 7 o'clock. This band's
Yeah.
going on stage 7, and that's when they're gonna start. So it's not gonna be a long event.
Yeah, and it'll be getting darker because that's when people want to come out for fireworks.
Right, fireworks or go off at 9:30.
But But even doing something on a weekend that's set up in the park near the pool, that is an area that attracts a lot of people from both communities. So that could be a good opportunity to host an info table and discussion event in the park. How do you all feel about timeline? How long would we want to spend thinking about putting this together before we're comfortable doing it? Do we want to aim for July or August, or would we rather wait until September?
My initial thought on that, so at work today, I had 3 people I work with tell me they're going on vacation over the next couple weeks, which makes me think the vacations are back. I'm not going on one, unfortunately, but I think I would rather wait until September. That's just my opinion, just until things settle down again.
I'm pretty comfortable with that. That's kind of my preference too.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with waiting. My July is pretty busy.
Yeah, so let's keep that on our back burner and think about how we'd like to structure it, and perhaps our Crafton Planning Commission can talk about that at our next month's meeting. But hopefully we have all of our commissioners and map out what we'd like to do. And in the meantime, Ingram, if you guys have ideas that you'd like to collaborate on, can share our thoughts and ideas by email.
So I missed the last one. Do you feel the format was pretty good? Did you feel it communicated well?
I think it was, and I'll just start here and then we can go to everyone else. I thought it was very well done from an informational standpoint, but it was very informational. It was not interactive. It was more of a baseline. Here's what an eco-district is, some examples, how it could work. I think we conducted it as a webinar. There was the ability to ask questions at the end, but people had to raise their hand and be selected. And we only had about 3 people listen in. I think we would get a much better result if we do something that's more conversational and more in person next time. But I know, Lydia, Rich, what did you think? Jim, you also attended.
Yeah, it was a very, very basic presentation, I thought. But having said that, it's probably foreign to most of our residents. And that's sort of, I think about that when I think about their involvement. Eco, first of all, the word eco district, it's probably something for them difficult to understand.
I thought it was a great baseline. I'm glad we did it the way we did it, because it makes it easy to rewatch without you having to deal with lots of comments, interaction that doesn't translate well when you're watching it again later. But I don't think it was ever meant to be the one and only informational session or workshop on this topic. It was meant to be the first one. So I think it accomplished what we wanted it to. It may just not have been a great time for people. I mean, I didn't see a lot of people drop off out of lack of interest after signing on due to our the way we were presenting the information. I think it may just have been a bad time for people, or people didn't know what it was enough to want to spend the time to join initially. But I think if we're able, things are opening up, I think getting in front of people's faces makes a lot of sense for the second attempt.
We can, because it was webinar, it was recorded. We did try to keep it to under an hour so that it was fairly succinct and it moved along. That makes it a nice resource. So any future events that we do, and as the process moves forward, and hopefully eventually becomes a formal planning process with someone helping us through it, we'll always be able to point back to that resource and still share it with the community. So I think it was a really good first step.
Yeah, it's going to take a while because of what Jim said, especially it's a new concept.
Mhm.
It's just going to take a while. We just have to keep pushing.
We had our quarterly Crafton newsletter just came out a week or so ago, and we had a recap of what the Planning Commission has been doing, including a recap of the Eco District webinar, which hadn't happened when we had to submit the newsletter itself. I think the text was due a few days before, but we provided a little synopsis of it anyways, and then a link, an indication or a link to the Planning Commission's website within the borough's website, which is where it is now posted. So people have all just gotten that reminder that this happened, and the link is posted online. And hopefully in Ingram, you guys also go ahead and share that link.
We will.
Okay, well, that gets us through all of our current updates on things that have happened recently. The next thing in our discussion here, there are a couple of items, some of which were carryovers from last month. And one of which was a new thing that I wanted to put out there for discussion. I mentioned earlier, we did just have the Crafton Boulevard stormwater sewer separation project just broke ground and got some attention in the news. It's really nice to see projects and to see construction in Crafton getting positive news. And I thought this was a good time to revisit within our Planning Commission what else we might like to, how else we can promote our community and our downtown. We had talked about this a few years ago, having a map of downtown businesses, and we did talk about our website, which we have done work to get a website up and running. There's also been a lot of discussion. There have been several properties that have come on the market, none of which we are really able to do much with. With our zoning hasn't yet been redone, and we haven't started that rezoning for the updated zoning project yet. But in the meantime, things continue changing and continue moving in the community. The Linden site that's owned by the school, they have put their plans to redevelop that on pause for now. I don't have the inner details of that. I just know that they haven't sold it yet, and they've decided to kind of pause on proceeding at this time. There's a property down by the busway in Crafton that's for sale. The American Legion building and adjacent parking lot. And then continued comments and questions about what the future of the shopping center will be. So I just wanted to bring this back into our Planning Commission discussion, and this is kind of a Crafton initiative, but certainly open to discussing with Ingram as well and sharing ideas. What we can do as a Planning Commission to promote the community and maybe promote, think of other programs or initiatives that we can take on that would help build up interest in our downtown. So it's kind of a food for thought, but the very first thing is, if we have other ideas like the Crafton Boulevard sewer separation project, we have other ideas for things like that are happening that we can get into the news, or make sure that they're posted on the website and featured on the website. That's a really good place to start.
How did that project get in the news? And where was it in the news? What media? I'm just curious how that all happened.
Well, their council president invited a number of people to attend and reached out to news media.
Okay.
And they had a formal photo op with the shovel going into the ground. You know, they made an active attempt to market it and get it into the news.
Cool.
That project has also been shared on, it's being shared on the borough website. It's been shared on LinkedIn. It's just getting word out that Crafton is making investments and making improvements. And that's a good step that, you know, I'd like the Planning Commission to keep in mind and think about other ways that we can continue, that we can do similar things.
One of the wonderful things about that project was that it was collaborative with the school district and the borough, as well as having grant money from the state, et cetera. There were a lot of, you know, reasons to get that in the news. You know, Rep. Dan Deasy was there. It wasn't a Crafton borough only project paid for, created by Crafton. It was collaborative. So not that Crafton only projects aren't newsworthy, but I think that especially gained some momentum because it had so many players.
I don't know if we want to really dive into that today or just kind of initiate that for thinking about and come back to it next month. But we had a few years ago, we had talked about having creating some kind of map of commercial businesses and resource that could be used to highlight the local businesses in town. So that was one of the other things I was thinking of under that category. I think it'd be nice for us to revisit that concept of just trying to do some community promotion as well and make sure that we're highlighting the things that we already have here. You know, the map of the businesses never really got done, but I think that'd be a good thing to put back on our agenda.
So related to that, I was just looking at the photo. It looks on your web. Related to that, in our comp plan, our multi-municipal comp plan, there is also a recommendation to create a walking map, which obviously links to what Ingram's doing, right? Section down there on Prospect Avenue. I always like that idea. You know, it's a chunk of work, but I think it's also a really good idea to promote biking, walking.
What would be involved in that? Were you thinking something that would be online or a printed map or something that would involve like physical?
I guess it could be both. I don't think I was really thinking printed map, but mostly online. But when Lydia was part of the comp plan, and you probably remember Lydia. You know, we did a walking tour one day. We walked, like there's trails in Crafton and trails in, not really trails in England, but there's walking routes, call them. There are trails in Crafton. And Jim Pashik at the time said, "This is incredible. We should connect all these." The basic map showing people, you know, highlighting different, you know, natural assets of the communities. That could be in addition to the business. I mean, the Ingram business map's not going to be very complicated because we don't really have that many businesses. You know, we have little Center Street, bit of West Prospect. Besides the shopping center. But anyways, it's in the comp plan. It's one of the few things we haven't really done. So just throwing that out there.
And that sounds like something that we could start as a, as a set of things that we know about and trails that we know about and destinations we know about. Even if we're not able to formalize it into a navigable map, we may need to see if we can get some support with that. But our planning commissions could get us a baseline map of the kinds of things we want included on it to get that moving.
Some portion of our GIS layers have green space called out, and I think at least the Clearview trails called out. We may be able to start with what we have and see what's missing and add Ingram if we have the right software, or can ask the borough to get it done by the engineers.
Yeah, I know that if we give a markup of what we want added, then it's much more straightforward for them to simply add it into the GIS. Well, I think that the business map, we can maybe do more of a working discussion on that next month from a Crafton standpoint, because we do have a lot of businesses. So, I mean, I can start by getting a list started, and then we can add to it next month. But the trails and walking paths, I mean, that seems like a very simple one to get started. So I mean, I can get that one started too, and just annotate a map with what we think should be included on it, and we can circulate that and then add to it, and get a collection of things that we would like to have mapped, and then take that to the borough manager and see what kind of resources we have to reflect that in our GIS. I'm not sure what that would involve and what resources we will have available, but I'll reach out to Doug and ask.
When we started the business map initially, we didn't just do it from scratch. We asked the borough to give us redacted tax information for any addresses that were associated with businesses, and then started weeding them out with a goal of only showing something that provided goods and services. So, somebody's personal business that's run out of their house isn't something we would want to highlight on a map for residents to go visit. But we may want to start with that, get a refreshed version of that data set and start there again.
It was a very long list. It had a lot of things that we had to go through and verify or rule out. I'll get an updated list from Doug.
If you think going from scratch is better, I don't know how we go about doing that unless they're already associated with Google somehow, or we just know the businesses ourselves. But I don't want to miss major businesses just for human mistake.
I think there are two ways to go about it. Either we go the tax route, which we tried last time, and it had there ended up being a lot of things that we needed to double check and follow up on and then rule out, because you do roll into local businesses. You roll in all of the people who have home-based businesses or have registered a business, but they don't actually offer a good or service there. And maybe we want to include a lot of home businesses if it is a business that offers goods and services. But that was one way to do it that left us sifting through a lot of registered businesses that didn't really fall in the category we were looking for. The other way to do it is to just start with the parcels that are zoned for commercial use. And then we have a pretty clear roadmap of where those are. And makes it, and then we would have to go and follow up on each one, but a lot of those are we're already familiar with. They are very easy to find through Google Earth or through just a walking tour. And by double checking against all the properties that are zoned commercial, we make sure that we don't miss any that we weren't looking for. So that's the other way to go about doing it. Would we want to focus mostly on businesses that are like business properties, or would we want to include home-based businesses throughout the whole community?
I don't know that I'm super opinionated on this. I was just trying to give background on how we had attempted to do this in the past. If you have a better way to do it, I'm totally fine with that.
I'll start by asking Doug for that updated list, and let's see what it looks like. And there may be a way to actually combine both of those approaches, to combine the data that is linked to tax parcels and cross-reference that with which ones are commercial, to at least focus our list on putting those ones together first, and then going back and adding home businesses as another list. Because I think it is nice to know all of the businesses that are operating in the community, even those that are home-based. It's nice to know and be able to promote those within the community. But if we were to do a map of businesses, we probably would focus on businesses that you can actually walk up to and shop at, businesses that are on commercial properties. I'll start by getting the updated list from Doug, though. Let's see how usable it is and how lengthy it is. I think a lot of businesses have changed in Crafton over the past year and a half, and it would be really nice to get more promotion towards and consolidated promotion of a lot of our local businesses, and also highlight the new things that have come up, which are more likely to be home-based businesses.
Can also send out a Savvy Citizen blast or do an announcement basically saying we're trying to put this list together. If you have a business that you'd like to have highlighted, let us know.
That is an even better idea. I like that idea. We'll do that too, and that can help that
Help
first.
fill in the gaps.
Yeah, getting people to come and list themselves. That'll help us move faster. We moved pretty slow last time. Okay. The next two items on the agenda, unless there's anything else on that topic of community marketing and promotion before we move on. The next two items on the agenda were these were just follow-up items from last month. And I know I wasn't able to attend last month, and so there were two comments in the minutes that I wanted to make sure we came back to. There were some items marked follow-up or ask about. So the first one was updates on the working version of the vision document. I know that is a live document that our Crafton Planning Commission can add into anytime, and we've talked about reminding ourselves to go in there and add new thoughts or ideas that we have. Was there anything further that you guys wanted to follow up on from last month, or was it just a general reminder?
That was just a reminder / us wondering if anything had been updated. I know Eric said he hadn't had a chance to get to it in the last month. I don't know if he's done it in this past month, and we weren't sure. since you weren't able to attend, if you had gotten to any of the updates.
I have not added anything new into it. I know that the one thing we had talked specifically about adding was more information and resources about the keeping, the benefits of keeping brick streets. And there was the resource that was shared by a citizen, by Greg, a few months ago, who attended one of our meetings and then shared with our planning commission some studies that he had found. We did talk about adding those and adding references to those into our vision document. I haven't done that yet, so it's a reminder to me. The other item that was a follow-up from last month was you guys had talked about discussing the structure of the Planning Commission Google Drive folder. Was that also just like a general discussion to come back to, or was there something specific we wanted to make changes to?
Rich, was that was Eric's request, right? We may want to.
Right, Eric just was concerned, were we foldering things the right way? Do we need to create more specific folders for things like minutes and what we talk about and general topics? Or were we going in the right direction on how we have it set up?
Maybe since that's Crafton specific and Eric has an opinion about it, maybe we could table that for the Crafton only meeting next time and
Right, I think
and
Eric's had
handle it
more
together.
Yeah, we'll come back to that next month. It's always good to keep our files clean and updated and organized. So we'll come back to that next month. The next item on our agenda is the review of the May minutes. Again, I wasn't there last month, but I did look over the minutes. They looked nice. Lydia, do you and Rich want to review those quickly and we'll approve them?
Yeah, let me just share that so everybody can see it. Did that show up?
Yeah, that's good.
Rich, do you understand B2? It says next step, perhaps we will visit the structure of our knowledge site for the next call.
I think that's what Eric was asking about. The structure we have, do we need to expand the folders out, more generalized things? Or were we doing okay with the way we have it set up?
Is knowledge site just the Google Drive
Yes,
shared folder?
yes.
I can't really see what this graph is. Is this is number of clicks on the survey or on?
Yes, I believe that's what that is. I couldn't get it to expand either, trying to see it a little better.
So
I could see it in the file though. I mean, I can see well enough to see that it says 23 total clicks. So given that it's in the discussion about the survey, I thought that was pretty straightforward.
yeah, I just added on survey for clarity.
Okay.
Maybe public survey.
Right.
And then Eric, I think Eric posted the survey link.
Yeah, and I wrote to you, to the Crafton Planning Commissioners earlier. I think it's really helpful that we're taking the notes in the agenda. I think that is working really nicely. It's just little minor things, minor edits like that, I think are useful before we send them off to Charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Making sure that it's clear to others who might read our minutes who we're referring to.
So as far as these meeting minute approvals, it says February and April, but I do have in my handwritten notes that it was March and April
It should be.
that were.
Yeah, and those were the ones that had been sent or discussed in advance. So I assume that was March.
Okay, so I'm just changing that February to March and then.
Okay.
Just
think-
back to the minutes.
To approve or to agree when it looks done.
Yeah, I just have a question for Rich. So I have in my notes from last time, we had to change a typo from OC to PC, meaning Planning Commission. And that was the only editorial thing before sending it off to Charisma. Did that change get made and did the final version get sent?
Yes, I believe I did that in the next week.
Okay. I don't have any issues with these minutes.
Neither do I. This is very good.
All right, so should you motion to approve them?
Yeah, motion to approve May
Second.
25th, 2021 minutes.
Second.
Yeah, I agree.
Agree.
Okay, and we still have no citizens on the line. So no citizen comments this month. Are there any other?
I do have one more question. So
Okay.
these minutes and my own notes from last meeting reminded me that we discussed potentially having either Crafton only or joint workshop associated with explaining the benefits to the community of updating our zoning code. We discussed that we didn't know if the citizens of the borough understood why it's a good idea, and thought that maybe that would be a nice workshop topic. I don't know if there's any interest. I wanted to bring that up while everybody's on the line.
I think that's fine. I think that is potentially better to do in person rather than on Zoom, although I'm open to either. It could just be another informational kind of workshop that we record and post online, similar to the Eco District one. But zoning, especially because the project hasn't actually started yet, is unlikely to get much attendance. It's kind of a dry topic, especially if there's nothing actively being rezoned, which is when people tend to show up. So
Mhm.
I'm all for it, but we may want to think about how and when and where to best do that so that we get people to actually participate. I don't know if you had thought about how you wanted to do it, if you were thinking of an online workshop or some other format.
We didn't get that far in the details. We talked about maybe keeping it pretty snappy, maybe top 3 reasons to rezone and the consequences of rezoning, basically just trying to get out to the community what it means and how it might affect them. And also there's been some scaremongering with the term rezoning. I think people don't understand that there's limits to what that means. It's not like we're going to turn somebody's house into a
Right.
shopping mall tomorrow.
Right, updating the zoning does not.
So the other thing that just popped in my head is it doesn't have to be a webinar. We could do some sort of informational sheet, a flyer.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. I think it could be nice to do a flyer or perhaps a series of a couple of like graphic posts that could be put out on Savvy Citizen and on social media.
I like that.
That'd be a good format to do.
Ingram, what are your thoughts? Do you think it would be beneficial to get some information out there for your citizens?
Yeah, I think it's always been beneficial. I think zoning is dry, I agree. But I love it for some reason. And I think I love it because I understand it. So I think it would be helpful. But I don't know what format, even if we didn't have a meeting, we could do graphics. We could also just record a webinar, just to archive, just maybe us talking. As planning commissions, just different ideas, but I do agree with it. I really do. And I don't think a meeting would be well attended, but I think if it was informational and posted for viewing at their leisure, I think it would be very helpful.
Well, Greg,
What if we start with a flyer or a series of graphic posts and then figure out if we get this grant in the fall timeframe and do a workshop maybe if we win and drum
like
up
it.
some support.
I like it. I like the proactive nature of it.
I like that idea too. If we put up 1 or 2 informational sheets, see what type of feedback we get from people, see if they are interested in possibly talking about it or even doing a workshop about it. If we get no interest in it, then we do what Greg said. We just put some information out there.
Yeah, I mean, at least from what we voted on in the past, the Crafton Planning Commission has expressed interest in moving forward with the project regardless of whether grant funding comes through. But council hasn't made that decision and hasn't promised to do that. And getting some community support behind us may be helpful in the event we don't win the grant.
That's a really good point. My stance is that Ingram absolutely has to do it. It's been so long since we've done it, whether we get the grant or not, but it's just a matter of me trying to convince them. So, anything we can present that educates even the council or the residents, I think is helpful. Because zoning it's complicated in detail, but it's simple in theory, it's actually not very simple at all. I don't think. Kirsten, you may agree or not, you work with it every day at your job probably, but it's a game changer, and I don't think people understand it. It's very, very important.
I don't know if anyone, and I can send some articles around on this if you haven't seen this. Dormont has recently finished their zoning update, and they're getting a lot of press about it. It's getting a lot of really positive feedback. It's just nice to see what, what impact and what kind of attention another community is getting. Because it generates, it generates interest and investment and growth in the community as well when it's done well. So again, if any of you haven't seen any of the news coming out of Dormont, you should look into it, and I can send a few links around if you want.
That'd be great. I haven't seen any. I'll look for them, but if you have them on hand, that'd be great. So does Jim or Greg, if I take this on as in the next month, at least gather some ideas for how we can, what information to include on the flyer, and then do either of you want to discuss with me and kind of come up with content, and then we can figure out who has the best tools for graphics? I have basic like PDF editor type stuff. So I'm not a Photoshop whiz by any means, and I don't have that accessible to me, but I could for sure come up with some basic information.
Lydia, I'm happy to do the packaging and graphics.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to discuss it with you, because
Okay.
I've been living it for at least 2 years at my job, so I'm pretty familiar.
Okay. I'll email you separately. We can set up a time to talk or do some emailing and then have a final meeting, that kind of thing.
Okay, so our timeline here for these two different upcoming concepts or workshops or things that we're both promoting at the same time with various formats of workshops are, we're going to do first some kind of flyer and digital informational materials on zoning in the next month to 2 months, and get that out in July or August. And then we also talked about the Eco District event that will aim at doing something in person in September, the September timeframe, that will get information and awareness circulating again, but also in a more interactive kind of way where we can start to solicit feedback as well and gather ideas. And then a zoning workshop, which could happen around that same time, depending on what interest we get, what responses we get to the flyers, or may happen a little bit after. So that might be more of an October timeframe as we move into actually getting the grant funding. Recapping for me the different things we've talked about workshop wise, is that what you guys are thinking?
That sounds right to me.
Okay.
If we do, I mean, we can talk about the details, but if we do an Eco District booth or whatever, we may want to have some materials on hand created for that as well to hand out.
Yeah, I think the flyer and some digital materials that can be posted online too, those are useful for the Eco District also. And fortunately, a lot of what we put together for the presentation and for the webinar, it gives us a lot of material to build from.
Mm-hmm.
There was even a flyer that was done for that webinar. So we've got a couple of things started. I think that sounds good. That gives us a couple of different initiatives on our agenda to move forward with, getting more marketing and promotion back to our local businesses and highlighting the assets that we have with those plans that we talked about, that we can assemble internally to start. But then also a couple of event and workshop ideas to get the word out about the value of zoning and the potential for doing an Eco District. Gives us a good number of things to try to accomplish in the next few months. So again, we still don't have any citizens online, and that gets us all the way through our agenda. Were there any other comments from the planning commissioners that are here? Any other comments or additions or questions or anything we missed?
Not from me. I just want to confirm our next meeting is September 28th. That's what I have. Sound right?
That sounds right to me.
So it's the last Tuesday
Yeah.
in September.
That's right. The 4th Tuesday of September.
That's right.
Okay. No, I thought it was a good meeting. I'm gonna do a little work on our website, get some of this eco district stuff out. I apologize, but I'm just tired of doing all the work on council. Just to be honest, there was a certain councilman who wanted a new website, and I wanted him to do the work. I'll spare you all. But nothing's really happening. It's just a stagnant site. So I'm going to get on there and try to beef it up a little bit.
Well, let us know if you need anything, if you need any refreshers. I know we sent some of those materials out
Thank you.
and the link out to you back when it happened, but that was a few months ago now. So if you need anything resent, just let me know.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Can I motion to adjourn?
Absolutely.
All right. Motion to adjourn 7:56.
Second.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
All
you.
right, good night. Thank
Good
you.
meeting.
Have a good evening.